I was standing on my porch that morning, watching the cardinals at Linda's feeder. Frost hung thick on the railing. The house behind me was too quiet. No coffee perking, no humming from the kitchen, just the sound of church bells starting up across town, calling folks to say goodbye to my wife. Then I heard gravel crunching in the drive. Derek Vaughn stepped out of his black Lexus 90 minutes before the funeral, a manila envelope tucked under his arm. His face had that rehearsed look, the kind men put on when they're about to deliver bad news they've been sitting on too long. "Tom, we need to talk," he said, before the service. "It's urgent." My coffee had gone cold in my hand. Something in his voice made my knees feel loose. "There's irregularities in the foundation accounts," Derek said, walking toward me. "Linda's name is on them." The cardinals scattered. Derek didn't wait for an answer. His hand found my elbow, steering me toward his car like I was a child who needed guiding. "Inside, we need privacy." The funeral home office smelled like furniture polish and lilies. Derek closed the door behind us and I heard the lock click. He slid the manila envelope across the desk between us. "I hate doing this now," he said. His voice had that smooth quality, like he'd practiced the words in front of a mirror, but the auditors won't wait. "I wanted you to hear it from me first." My hands shook when I opened the folder. Bank statements, transfer authorizations, numbers that didn't mean anything to my tired brain. But I saw Linda's signature at the bottom of page after page, and I saw the number $340,000. "Tom, I know this is impossible timing." Derek's hand landed on my shoulder. He squeezed, gentle, concerned. "But we'll figure this out together. We'll protect her memory. Keep this quiet. For her sake." Well, I couldn't speak, couldn't think. Through the office window, I could see people starting to arrive. The church ladies with their casseroles. Howard Mills from the foundation board. Ruth Beckman from next door, her face drawn and tired. Linda's casket was 50 feet away. "We'll talk after," Derek said. "Take your time. But Tom..." He paused at the door. "The board's going to need answers, soon." I don't remember walking to the sanctuary. Don't remember taking my place in the front pew. The organ was playing Amazing Grace, and the sound of it felt like it was coming from underwater. 200 people came to say goodbye to St. Linda. That's what they called her around town. The woman who ran the County Charitable Foundation for 16 years and never forgot a birthday, never turned away a family in need, never raised her voice, even when folks tried her patience. I stood at the podium and read words I'd written the night before. Words about her kindness, her dedication, her integrity, but the whole time, all I could think about was that manila folder. Those numbers. Her signature on documents that said she'd stolen from the people she'd spent her life trying to help. My voice cracked on the word honest. Derek sat 3 rows back, his face a mask of appropriate grief. I noticed his watch when he raised his hand to wipe at his eyes. Expensive. The kind that catches light. The kind a nonprofit director shouldn't be wearing on a $78,000 salary. The reception in the church basement was a blur of handshakes and casseroles, and people telling me how sorry they were. But I noticed something. The way conversations would stop when I walked past. The way eyes would slide away when I tried to meet them. Ruth Beckman found me by the coffee urns. She pressed my hand between both of hers. Rough, work-worn hands that reminded me of Linda's. "I'm right next door if you need anything," she said. Her voice was low, meant just for me. "Anything at all." I nodded because I couldn't trust myself to speak. Derek was across the room, surrounded by board members, playing the concerned colleague, the loyal employee, shaking hands like he was running for office. Howard Mills stood next to him, nodding at whatever Derek was saying. My daughter Jennifer arrived late, slipping in through the side door. She'd flown in from Florida that morning. We hugged, brief, awkward, 6 years of silence between us, and neither of us knew how to bridge it. She'd been angry when I'd told her I didn't approve of her divorce. Angry enough to stop calling, stop visiting. Linda had maintained the relationship, made the weekly phone calls, sent the birthday cards. Now Linda was gone, and Jennifer and I were strangers in a church basement, surrounded by people who knew us but didn't know what to say. "Dad," she whispered, "have you eaten anything?" I shook my head. "Come on, let me..." "I'm fine," I said, too sharp, too quick. Her face closed up, and I watched her drift away toward the food tables. The house was dark when I finally made it home. Linda's coat still hung on the hook by the door. Her shoes were lined up neat on the mat, the ones with the worn heels she'd kept meaning to get fixed. I couldn't bring myself to turn on the lights. In the kitchen, her coffee mug sat in the sink, the last cup she'd ever made. I'd meant to wash it that morning, but somehow leaving it there felt like keeping a piece of her close. I tried making coffee myself. Got it wrong, like I always did. Too much water. Linda used to tease me about it. Said I made coffee so weak you could read a newspaper through it. The manila folder sat on the kitchen table where I'd dropped it. I couldn't look at it. Couldn't open it again. The NPR station played from the living room, Linda's Habit, the evening news program she never missed. I couldn't bring myself to turn it off. Around 3 in the morning, I heard an engine idling outside. I looked through the kitchen window and saw Derek's black Lexus parked across the street, just sitting there, headlights off. I could see him inside, the glow of his phone screen lighting up his face. He was watching my house. After 10 minutes, he pulled away, slow and deliberate. I sat back down at the table and pulled the folder toward me, opened it with shaking hands, started looking at the dates on the transfer documents. November 18th, I remembered that week. Linda had come home from the foundation office crying. Wouldn't tell me what was wrong. Just said she was tired. The chemo was making her emotional. I'd believed her. But that was 3 months before she died. 3 months before Derek showed up at my door with his manila folder and his rehearsed sympathy. How long had he been planning this? 3 days after the funeral, I tried going back to my Tuesday routine. 30 years, I'd been eating breakfast at Millie's Diner every Tuesday morning. Eggs over easy wheat toast, coffee that actually had some backbone to it. The bell over the door jingled when I walked in. Every conversation stopped mid-sentence. Patty had been serving me for going on 3 decades. Good woman. Raised 4 kids on her own after her husband ran off. But when I slid into my usual booth, she couldn't meet my eyes. Her hands shook when she poured my coffee, and some of it slopped over the rim onto the saucer. "Thanks, Patty," I said. She nodded and disappeared into the kitchen. Behind me, in the booth I couldn't see but could hear just fine, 2 voices picked up their conversation, barely lowered. "Shame about Linda Harper," one said. 16 years at that foundation. Who knew? "My sister works at the bank," the other replied. "Says there's talk of an audit. They're saying Linda had her hand in the till for over a year." I left a 20 on the table and walked out without touching the coffee. The hardware store was worse. I needed a furnace filter, the kind of errand you can't put off when February's got its teeth in you. Earl Monroe had owned that store since before I started teaching shop class at the high school. We'd known each other 40 years. He was at the register when I walked up with the filter, looked right past me like I was invisible. "Earl," I said. "Tom." And he rang up the purchase without another word. Wouldn't take my hand when I offered my credit card, just pointed at the card reader. Behind him, I could see through to the back office. Someone had taped up a bulletin from the foundation. I caught a few words. Internal audit, financial irregularities, Mrs. Harper's accounts under review. My hands were shaking so bad, I could barely get the card into the reader. When I got home, there was a note taped to my front door. No signature. Just 7 words in block letters. "Your wife was a thief. You probably knew." I crumpled it up and threw it in the yard. Ruth's curtain moved across the street. She was watching. I couldn't sleep that night. Couldn't eat. The casseroles from the church ladies were stacking up in the fridge. Going bad. The phone had stopped ringing after the second day. Nobody wanted to talk to the husband of the woman who'd stolen from the county's charitable foundation. Around midnight, I found myself in Linda's sewing room. I'd been looking for her recipe book. Thought maybe if I could make her apple pie, it might bring some comfort, some connection to her. The room smelled like her. That lavender soap she used. Fabric softener. The faint scent of the vanilla candles she'd burn while she worked. Her half-finished quilt was still stretched across the frame. Pieces of fabric organized in neat stacks. Everything in its place, the way Linda kept things. The recipe book wasn't in its usual spot. I started searching through her shelves, and that's when I found it. A spiral notebook tucked under a pile of quilt squares. No label on the cover, just Linda's handwriting on the first page. Dates, account numbers, foundation fund names. My heart started pounding. I sat down on her sewing chair and started reading. September 3rd, Derek asked me to co-sign transfer authorization today. Said it would speed up processing. But the account name, Harrison Educational Fund, I don't recognize it. Need to check. September 18th, checked with bank, Harrison Ed Fund not in our system. Asked Derek. He said it's new, still being set up, but why move money into an account that's not established? October 12th, 3 more transfers this month, all to accounts I can't find in our books. Derek says I'm overstepping, that he handles the financial side. But that's not how Linda Harper runs things. I'm the director. I should know every account, page after page. Linda's neat handwriting documenting every suspicious transfer, every question Derek wouldn't answer, every time she'd caught him in what looked like a lie. December 4th, he knows I know. Today, Derek pulled me aside, asked about my legacy, said he'd want people to remember me well. It was a threat wrapped up in concern. I'm sure of it now. The final entry was dated 2 days before she died, January 13th, too weak to fight openly now. The cancer's winning, and Derek knows it. If you're reading this, Tom, it means I'm gone. And Derek's made his move. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you. You'd have tried to protect me, and that would have made things worse. But I've documented everything. Look to faith. Matthew 10:26. Finish what I started. My hands were shaking so hard the notebook fell from my grip. Matthew 10:26. I went to the living room, pulled Linda's grandmother's Bible off the shelf, Old leather binding, pages thin as tissue paper. I found the verse. For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. Tucked between the pages was a USB drive. Small, black, with a label in Linda's handwriting. For Tom, only if necessary. I stared at it for a long time. Then I pulled out my phone and called Jennifer. She answered on the fourth ring. Dad, it's almost 1 a.m. there. I need you to come back, I said. I found something. Linda's journal. She was investigating Derek before she died. She knew he was stealing. Silence on the other end. Then, Dad, are you sure you're reading it right? Mom was on a lot of medications those last few months. The chemo, the pain meds. Her handwriting is steady, Jennifer. The dates are accurate. This isn't confusion. But Mom loved Derek. She talked about him all the time. How good he was at managing the foundation. How much she trusted him. She trusted him until she discovered what he was doing. Another long pause. Dad, I have work deadlines. A life here. I can't just... There's a USB drive. Linda left it. I need your help accessing it. Maybe tomorrow. I need to think about this. Jennifer, I'll call you tomorrow, Dad. Get some sleep. The line went dead. I sat there holding the USB drive. Plugged it into Linda's old desktop computer. A password prompt appeared. I tried her birthday. Our anniversary, her mother's maiden name, all wrong. After 3 attempts, a warning message popped up. 1 attempt remaining before drive erases. I unplugged it fast, hands shaking. The drive sat on the desk, small and black, and full of whatever Linda had thought important enough to hide. Whatever truth she'd died trying to protect, and I couldn't open it. Howard Mills agreed to meet me at the foundation office 3 days after I'd found the journal. We'd bowled in the same league for 20 years before my knees gave out. His dad and mine had worked at the same factory. The kind of history that makes a man think he can trust another. The foundation occupied a converted Victorian on Maple Street, just a block from the courthouse. The radiator was clanking when I walked in. Same sound Linda used to complain about every winter, saying the budget couldn't afford a plumber. But Derek somehow always had money for new office furniture. Howard was waiting in the conference room. He'd put on weight since I'd seen him last, and his handshake wasn't as firm as it used to be. Tom, I'm real sorry about Linda. He gestured to a chair. Coffee? I'm fine. He sat across from me, hands folded on the table like a man at church. You said you had something to show me. I slid copies of Linda's journal pages across to him, kept the original safe at home, locked in my desk drawer. Linda was documenting Derek's theft before she died, for months. Howard put on his reading glasses and went through the pages slowly. His face showed concern, but something else too. Caution, maybe. The kind that comes from years of sitting on nonprofit boards, learning to trust paperwork over people. Tom, he said finally, Linda was under tremendous stress. The chemo, the medications. Her handwriting's steady, the dates line up. This isn't morphine talking. I understand that, but Derek's shown us documentation, transfer authorizations with Linda's signature, bank records showing she had sole signatory authority. The foundation's attorney has reviewed everything. In forged time, I said, Linda's signature changed after her stroke 5 years ago. These are copies of her old signature. Howard leaned back in his chair. It creaked under his weight. That's a serious accusation. You have proof? I didn't. Not yet. Not without whatever was on that USB drive. I'm asking you to look into it, I said, quietly. Linda trusted you. I'm trusting you. He was quiet for a long moment. Outside, sleet had started tapping against the windows. I'll talk to the board attorney. We'll do a quiet internal review. But Tom, he met my eyes. We have to follow proper procedure. If there's nothing there, there's something there. Then we'll find it. But, in the meantime, this stays between us. No public accusations. The foundation's reputation is at stake. Linda's reputation. I wanted to believe him. Wanted to think that 40 years of bowling together, of knowing each other's families, of living in the same small town, that all of it meant something. Thank you, Howard. He walked me to the door. His hand on my shoulder felt heavy. We'll figure this out. Keep it contained. Linda deserves that much. The drive home took me past Linda's old route from the office. Down Maple to 3rd, left on Harrison, then home. I'd driven it 1,000 times. Picking her up when her car was in the shop or the weather was bad. 3 weeks before she died, she'd gripped my hand in the car and said, if anything happens to me, don't trust Derek with anything, promise me. I'd thought it was the morphine talking, the cancer eating at her brain, making her paranoid. I'd been wrong about a lot of things. Jennifer's rental car was in the driveway when I got home. Florida plates. Parked crooked, like she'd been in a hurry, or her mind was somewhere else. She was standing in my kitchen when I walked in, staring at the sink full of dishes I hadn't had the energy to wash. You drove all night? I asked. Couldn't sleep. She turned to face me. dark circles under her eyes. Linda's eyes, the same shade of brown. Show me the journal. I pulled it from my desk drawer and handed it to her. Watched her read through the entries, her face getting harder with each page. Dad, she talks about Derek like... Jennifer's voice caught. She talked to me about him all the time. How great he was, how much she relied on him. If she suspected this, why didn't she tell me? She was protecting you. And from what? From exactly what's happening now. Derek's framing her. If you'd known, you'd be caught up in it too. Jennifer set the journal down carefully, like it might break. You said there's a USB drive? I showed her. She plugged it into her laptop, and the password prompt appeared. What have you tried? She asked. Her birthday, our anniversary, your grandmother's name, all wrong. One more try and it erases. Jennifer stared at the screen. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. What if it's worse than we think? What if there's something on here that... Your mother left this for us. Whatever's on it, she wanted us to find. Tomorrow, Jennifer said. I'm too tired to think straight. We get one shot at this. She closed the laptop, looked around the kitchen like she was seeing it for the first time in years. You should eat something, Dad. When's the last time? I'm fine. You're not fine. Her voice had an edge to it. None of this is fine. The tension hung between us. 6 years of it. 6 years since I'd told her I didn't approve of her divorce, and she'd stopped calling. Linda had been the bridge between us, and now that bridge was gone. I'll make us some eggs, Jennifer said finally. The certified letter arrived the next morning. Expensive letterhead, Schaefer and Associates, attorneys at law. I opened it at the kitchen table. Jennifer read over my shoulder. Cease and desist. Legal language that boiled down to, stop talking about Derek Vaughn, or we'll sue you for defamation. Keep making accusations, and we'll release the full documentation of Linda Harper's financial misconduct. There was a second document clipped behind it, a notice of lien from the foundation's attorney. The foundation was claiming a lien on my house, collateral for Linda's alleged theft of $340,000. The house her parents had given us as a wedding gift 38 years ago. The house where we'd raised Jennifer. Where Linda had planted her garden every spring and hung her bird feeders every winter. Derek wasn't just destroying Linda's reputation, he was trying to take everything we'd built together. Jennifer's hand shook when she set the papers down. Dad, they can't do this. This is our family home. Mom inherited it from Grandma and Grandpa. They can if they prove Linda stole from them, and then we fight it. With what? Derek's got lawyers, documentation, the foundation board believes him. Jennifer grabbed her laptop and opened it. Let's try the USB. We need to know what Mom left us. She stared at the password prompt. What would she use? Something only you would know. I thought about Linda, about the woman I'd married 38 years ago. The woman I'd known before she became a Harper. Try Harper, I said, her maiden name. Jennifer typed Harper. The screen flashed. Access granted. Folders appeared. Foundation transfers. Derek emails. Voice recordings. Jennifer clicked on the voice recordings folder. 14 audio files. Dated over 6 months. She double-clicked the first one. Linda's voice filled my kitchen, weak but clear, unmistakably heard. February 3rd. Recording what I witnessed today. Derek Vaughn asked me to co-sign transfer authorization for Harrison Educational Fund. $23,000. I asked to see the fund documentation. He said he'd get it to me later. He never did. I closed my eyes, let her voice wash over me, my wife, my Linda, speaking to me from the grave. We sat at that kitchen table for 3 hours, listening to Linda's voice grow weaker with each recording. The early ones, from 6 months before she died, her voice was strong, irritated even. March 15th, Derek's transferred another $18,000 to an account called the Mercy Fund. I've checked our books 3 times. No Mercy Fund exists in our system. By summer, you could hear the chemo in her voice. The way it made her words come slower, like she was searching for them. July 2nd, confronted Derek today about the missing accounts. He said I was overstepping, that I should focus on getting well. Then he smiled. God help me. He smiled like he knew something I didn't. The recordings from her final months were barely whispers, but they were clear, determined. December 28th, Derek doesn't know I'm recording this. Today he said, Linda, think about your legacy. Some reputations can't survive scrutiny. He was threatening me, a dying woman, and I can prove it. Then came the recording that changed everything. It was a phone message. Derek's voice, left on Linda's cell phone a week before she died. Linda, we both know how this looks. His voice was smooth, almost kind. Think about Tom, your daughter. Some reputations can't survive scrutiny. Let this go, for everyone's sake. Jennifer's hand found mine across the table. He threatened her, she whispered. Mom was dying, and he threatened her. I couldn't speak, could barely breathe. Just sat there listening to the man who'd stood at my wife's funeral, who'd touched my shoulder and talked about protecting her memory, listening to him threaten her when she had weeks to live. There was one more file, a text document labeled, "For Tom Private." Jennifer opened it. "Tom, if you're reading this, I'm gone." And Derek made his move exactly as I knew he would. "I'm sorry I couldn't tell you while I was alive. You would have tried to stop me, tried to protect me. But some fights have to be fought alone first, together after. I documented everything. Hid evidence in places only you would look. Derek underestimates you, thinks you're passive, broken. Show him what loyalty looks like. Show him. Silence doesn't mean surrender. I love you. Finish this." L. The foundation board met 3 days later. 8 board members in the converted Victorian's conference room. Carol Hendricks, who'd taught with me at the high school. Frank Moretti, who farmed corn and soybeans out past the interstate. People I'd known for decades. Howard Mills sat at the head of the table, looking uncomfortable in his suit and tie. I'd brought copies of the journal entries, printed transcripts of Linda's recordings, a timeline showing the pattern of transfers. "Linda documented Derek's theft for months," I said. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. "She knew he'd try to frame her after she died. Everything's here." And I played excerpts from the recordings. The board members listened, faces grave. When Derek's voicemail played, the threat to Linda, Carol Hendricks put her hand over her mouth. For a moment, I thought I'd won. Then Derek walked in. He had Paul Schaefer with him, the attorney from the cease and desist letter. Young guy, sharp suit, the kind of lawyer who charges $500 an hour. Derek was carrying a document box. "Thank you for giving me the chance to respond," Derek said. His voice was heavy with regret, practiced. "I loved Linda like family. This breaks my heart, but we have a fiduciary responsibility." He opened the box and started distributing documents. Bank transfer authorizations with Linda's signature at the bottom. Email chains showing Linda requesting the transfers. Bank records showing she had sole signatory authority. "These are authenticated signatures," Paul Schaefer said. "Mrs. Harper had complete control over these accounts." "Those signatures are forged," I said. "Linda's signature changed after her stroke 5 years ago. These look like her old signature." Derek pulled out another stack of papers. I anticipated that claim. "Here's Linda's signature from last year on our quarterly reports. And the year before. Same signature style." He had an answer for everything. Documentation for every accusation. Howard Mills cleared his throat. "Tom, I know you're grieving. We all loved Linda, but the paper trail is very clear." "What about the recordings?" I demanded. "You heard Derek threaten her." "That conversation is taken completely out of context," Derek said. His voice was soft, wounded. "Linda was confused from the morphine. I was trying to help her see reason, keep her from making accusations that would destroy her legacy." Paul Schaefer leaned forward. "Mr. Harper, with all respect, recordings without context from a woman on heavy medication versus official banking records and authenticated signatures? This isn't evidence. This is a grieving man grasping at conspiracy theories." Carol Hendricks spoke up, her voice gentle. "Tom, we know you're hurting, but the documentation is overwhelming." The vote was unanimous. The board would proceed with an internal investigation into Linda's financial decisions. Derek was temporarily suspended, with pay, no criminal referral, no external audit, just a promise to keep it contained. I left that meeting knowing I'd lost. Ruth was waiting outside, sitting in her old Buick. She'd insisted on driving me, said I was in no state to be behind a wheel. "They didn't believe you," she said. Not a question. They chose what was easy. She was quiet the whole drive home. When we pulled into my driveway, she finally spoke. "Linda came to me 6 weeks before she died." I turned to look at her. She was weak, could barely walk. But she came to my house and told me what Derek was doing, asked me to watch him if anything happened to her. Document everything. Ruth's hands were tight on the steering wheel. "I've been watching, Tom, and I've got evidence of my own." Before I could respond, I saw the garage door. Spray painted across it in red letters, "Thief's Husband." Jennifer was standing in the driveway, staring at it. She turned when she heard the car, and I could see she'd been crying. "The police won't do anything," she said. "They said it's just vandalism. Probably kids." Probably not kids. Probably someone who'd heard the rumors. Someone who believed Derek's lies. That night, Jennifer's phone rang, her office in Florida, some crisis that needed her expertise. I could hear the tension in her voice as she talked to her boss. When she hung up, she wouldn't meet my eyes. "I need to go back, just for a few days, get some things sorted." "Jennifer, maybe you should sign Derek's settlement, Dad." The words came out in a rush. "Move on, start over somewhere else. This town isn't safe for you anymore." "Your mother died trying to prove the truth." And now she's dead, and you're here alone getting death threats painted on your garage." Jennifer's voice cracked. I can't lose you too. Then help me fight. She was quiet for a long time. Then she picked up her suitcase. I'll call you when I get to Florida. I watched her drive away, watched the taillights disappear down the street. Then I went inside to the kitchen table, where Derek's settlement offer was still sitting. I'd sign it, stay silent, and the foundation would drop the house lien. Derek and I would agree to disagree about events. Linda would be remembered as a woman who made mistakes in her final months. Confused by medication. Sad, but understandable. I picked up the pen, held it over the signature line. Linda's journal was open beside the settlement. I could see her handwriting, her final entry. Finish what I started. My hand wouldn't move. Couldn't betray her. Couldn't let Derek win. I put the pen down and closed my eyes. I don't know how to beat him, Linda, I said to the empty kitchen. But I'll be damned if I surrender. The blizzard warning came through on my phone at 2 p.m. 20 inches expected, wind chills below zero, stay off the roads. I sat at the kitchen table and watched the snow start to fall. Big, heavy flakes that stuck to the windows and piled up fast. The settlement papers were still there. Derek's offer, my escape, I hadn't eaten in 3 days. The casseroles in the fridge had gone bad, filling the kitchen with a sour smell I didn't have the energy to deal with. The coffee pot was half full with coffee I'd made that morning and forgotten about. Outside, the wind picked up. Snow. Snow swirled sideways past the windows, the power flickered. I should have checked the generator, should have made sure I had batteries for the flashlight, should have done a lot of things. I didn't move. Day 1 of the storm, I mostly slept, or tried to, kept waking up reaching for Linda, finding empty sheets instead, cold where she should have been warm. I'd get up, walk through the house. Her bathrobe still hung on the back of the bathroom door. I had put it on once, just to feel close to her. It smelled like her lavender soap, but fainter now, fading. The phone lines went down sometime in the afternoon. No internet. Just me and the storm and the settlement papers on the table. I read them over and over. The legal language that boiled down to surrender, admit defeat, let Derek win. It's just a house, I said out loud. Just money, just reputation. But it wasn't. It was Linda's truth. Her fight. Her last request to me. Finish what I started. I picked up the pen, put it down, picked it up again. Day 2, I found myself talking to Linda's picture. The one from our wedding day, 38 years ago. She was 29 in that photo, wearing her mother's dress, smiling like she knew a secret the rest of the world hadn't figured out yet. I tried, I told her. Showed them your journal, your recordings. They didn't care. Chose Derek's paperwork over your voice. The house creaked in the wind. Snow was piling against the windows now, blocking the light. He's too strong, too connected. Everyone believes his lies. I thought about that day, our wedding day, the vows we'd said. Linda had insisted on writing her own. I choose truth over comfort, she'd said. Always, even when it costs me, even when it's hard. I thought it was just pretty words at the time. The pen was in my hand again. The signature line was blank, waiting. All I had to do was sign, save the house, end the fight, live the rest of my life knowing I'd betrayed her. Day 3, I woke up on the couch, still wearing Linda's bathrobe. My chest hurt. My hands shook when I tried to make coffee. The storm was getting worse. I could hear the wind howling, feel the house shuddering with each gust. Snow had drifted halfway up the front door. I was trapped. Buried alive, in the house Linda and I had shared for 38 years. I made my way to the window and looked out. The street was invisible under the snow, nothing moving. No cars, no people. But across the street, through the white blur of the storm, I could see Ruth's house. Lights on in her kitchen window, warm gold against the snow. Someone was still out there. Someone was watching. I stood there a long time, staring at that light, wondering if Ruth believed Derek too, if I was completely alone. The knocking came around 3 p.m., loud, insistent. Someone pounding on the front door hard enough to shake snow loose from the frame. I thought about not answering. I was too tired, too defeated, too broken to face whoever was out there. But the knocking didn't stop. I opened the door. Ruth Beckman stood on my porch, bundled in a winter coat that had seen better days. Snow clung to her gray hair. She was holding a casserole dish in one hand and a manila folder, thick, bulging, in the other. Linda made me promise, she said. Her voice was steel wrapped in frost. Now get out of the way and put coffee on. Real coffee. Not that weak nonsense you make. She pushed past me into the house without waiting for an invitation. Set the casserole on the kitchen counter, shrugged out of her coat, looked around at the dirty dishes, the settlement papers, the general wreckage of my life. Jesus, Tom. When's the last time you ate something that wasn't despair? Ruth, Sit. I sat. She went to the coffee maker, dumped out my weak attempt, started fresh. The sound of it perking filled the kitchen. Normal, familiar, the first normal thing I'd heard in days. When the coffee was ready, strong enough to stand a spoon in, the way Linda used to make it. Ruth set a cup in front of me and sat down across the table. 6 weeks before Linda died, she came to my house. Ruth's voice was quiet now, serious. Could barely walk. The cancer was eating her alive. But she made the trip. I held the coffee cup, feeling the warmth seep into my hands. She told me Derek was stealing. Said she documented everything, but knew she was dying. Knew Derek would frame her after she was gone. Ruth opened the manila folder. She asked me to watch Derek, document what he did. Wait for the right time to help you. Photos spilled out onto the table. Derek's new Tesla, his Cayman Islands vacation, beach, umbrella drinks, him grinning at the camera, a condo in Indianapolis I'd never heard of. That Tesla cost $95,000, Ruth said. Purchased 3 weeks after Linda died. His vacation was $8,400, charged to the foundation credit card. The condo was $240,000, paid in cash. More documents, credit card statements, property records. A spreadsheet Ruth had made, tracking every expense. Derek makes $78,000 a year. The math doesn't work unless he's stealing. As I stared at the evidence, months of it, Ruth had been watching, documenting, building a case while I'd been drowning. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Linda taught me to be thorough. Don't accuse until you can prove, she said. Ruth tapped the pile of documents. Now we can prove it. My phone rang. Jennifer, I answered on speaker. Dad? Her voice was rough, like she'd been crying. I didn't check all the USB files. There were more I didn't open. I was scared. But I can't. I need to come back. I need to help. Come home, I said. When I hung up, Ruth was watching me. The foundation board won't help you, but the county council will. Public meeting, cameras rolling, community watching. Make Derek defend himself where everyone can see. And what if it's not enough? What if they don't believe? Then we keep fighting. But Tom, she leaned forward. Linda didn't fight alone, so you could give up. She fought alone, so you'd have what you needed when it was your turn. I looked down at Derek's settlement offer. At the signature line, I'd almost signed a dozen times in the last 3 days. Then I looked at Ruth's evidence. At the proof of Derek's greed laid out in black and white. Outside, the storm was breaking. Light was coming through the clouds for the first time in 3 days. The county council meets Thursday, Ruth said. 6 days from now, we need to be ready. And I pushed the settlement papers aside, pulled Ruth's evidence toward me. Tell me what we need to do. Jennifer's rental car pulled into the driveway at dawn. Same crooked parking as before, but this time she got out with purpose. Laptop bag over her shoulder. Determination in her face that reminded me of Linda. I couldn't sleep, she said when I opened the door. Kept thinking about Mom fighting this alone. About me running away when you needed help. Ruth was already in the kitchen, making breakfast. She'd stayed the night on my couch, said she wasn't leaving me alone until this was finished. Good, Ruth said, sliding eggs onto a plate. We've got work to do, and not much time. Eat first. We sat around the kitchen table like we were planning a war, which I suppose we were. Jennifer opened her laptop and pulled up the USB drive. I only listened to the first few recordings. Was too scared to hear the rest. But if we're doing this, we need to know everything Mom left us. And we went through the files systematically. 14 recordings total, spanning 6 months. Linda's investigation, documented in her own voice as she got sicker and sicker. The early ones were almost businesslike. March 3rd, Derek transferred $18,000 to Mercy Fund. I've requested documentation 3 times. He says it's in process. It's been 6 weeks. By June, you could hear the frustration creeping in. The way her voice got tight when she talked about Derek's excuses, his deflections. July 15th, asked Derek, directly today, are you stealing from the foundation? He laughed, said I should focus on my health, let him handle the finances. Then he touched my shoulder like he was comforting me. It made my skin crawl. And the September recordings showed her getting weaker, longer pauses between words, but also getting sharper, more certain. September 22nd, I'm documenting everything now. Every transfer, every lie, every deflection. Derek thinks the cancer will kill me before I can prove anything. He's wrong. Then Jennifer found a file we'd missed. Not in the voice recordings folder. Buried in Derek emails, labeled VM Deck 28, voicemail, December 28th. She clicked it. Derek's voice filled the kitchen. But this wasn't the smooth, concerned tone he'd used at the funeral. This was cold, calculated. Linda, we both know how this looks. Think about Tom, your daughter. Some reputations can't survive scrutiny. You've built something good here. 16 years of service. Do you really want people remembering you as the director who made mistakes in her final months? Let this go, for everyone's sake. The silence after the recording ended was absolute. He threatened her, Jennifer whispered. 5 days before she died, and he threatened her. Ruth's face was hard. That's consciousness of guilt. He knew she was on to him and tried to scare her into silence. But will it be enough? I asked. The board had Linda's recordings and still chose Derek's paperwork. The board met in private, Ruth said. County council's different. Public meeting, cameras rolling, community watching. Derek can't hide there. Jennifer was already typing. We need more than recordings. We need corroboration. Something that proves Mom wasn't confused or paranoid. I might know someone, Ruth said. She pulled out her phone. May Garrett, county clerk, files all the foundation's quarterly reports. If anyone's noticed irregularities, it's May. We met May at the courthouse after hours. The building was nearly empty, just the cleaning crew and May working late in her office. She was 73, had been county clerk for 35 years. Gray hair pulled back tight, glasses on a chain around her neck. The kind of woman who'd seen every scheme, every scandal, every attempt to game the system. Linda was good people, May said, pulling out file folders. Derek's a snake. Always has been. She spread quarterly reports across her desk. I file these every 3 months. Been doing it for 8 years since Derek came on. Last year I noticed something. Her finger traced down columns of numbers. Derek's personal expenses, travel, meals, professional development, they tripled in 18 months. Asked Linda about it once. She got quiet, said she was looking into it. Did you tell anyone? Jennifer asked. Told Linda to document everything, keep copies, watch her back. May looked at me. Didn't know she was dying. Didn't know Derek would move so fast after. And she pulled out more documents, property records, credit applications, all public information, but May knew exactly where to look. Derek bought a condo in Indianapolis. Cash purchase. $240,000. Bought it 3 weeks after Linda died. She slid the record across. Foundation director makes $78,000 a year. Where'd he get that kind of cash? We need this at the council meeting, Ruth said. May nodded. I can't testify officially. Conflict of interest, but these are public records. Anyone can access them. Anyone can present them. As we were leaving, May stopped me at the door. Linda came to me last November. Looked like death already, but her eyes were sharp. Said, May, if anything happens to me, help Tom. I promised her I would. Thursday night, 4 days before the council meeting, Jennifer and I sat in my truck 2 blocks from the foundation office. It was almost midnight. Derek had been suspended and the building was dark. This is breaking and entering, I said. It's Mom's office. I have her keys. Technically, we're authorized. Jennifer didn't sound convinced, but she was determined. We need those printer logs. If the transfer documents were created after Mom died, the timestamps will prove it. Ruth was in her Buick behind us, watching for patrol cars. She'd mapped the police routes, knew they passed the foundation every 45 minutes. You've got 30 minutes. Ruth's voice crackled over the cheap walkie-talkie she'd bought at the hardware store. Make them count. Jennifer got out of the truck. I watched her walk to the foundation side door, using Linda's keyring. The door opened and she slipped inside. I sat there in the dark, heart pounding, watching the seconds tick by on the dashboard clock. 15 minutes, 20, 25. Ruth's voice. Car coming, police cruiser, 2 blocks out. I grabbed the walkie-talkie. Jennifer, get out, now. No response. The cruiser turned onto Maple Street, moving slow, spotlights sweeping the buildings. Jennifer! I hissed into the walkie-talkie. The cruiser was half a block away when Jennifer slipped out the side door. She pressed herself into the shadows as the spotlight passed over the building. The cruiser kept going. Jennifer ran to the truck and climbed in, breathing hard. Got it. She held up a USB drive. Printer logs for the last 6 months, plus Derek's computer activity. Everything that went through the office network. Back at my house, she plugged the drive into her laptop. Started pulling up files. These transfer authorizations Derek showed the board, she said, clicking through timestamps. They were printed January 20th through 25th, and Mom died January 15th. The dates were right there in the metadata, irrefutable. Derek had created documents with Linda's signature after she was already dead. This is forgery, Jennifer said. Provable, documented forgery. Ruth leaned over Jennifer's shoulder, studying the screen. What else is on there? Jennifer kept clicking. Opened a folder labeled Derek Personnel. Oh, inside was Derek's original employment application from 8 years ago, his background check, his references. And buried in the back, a letter from his previous nonprofit employer. To whom it may concern. Derek Vaughn was terminated from his position as finance director at Mercy House, Foundation for Financial Irregularities. An internal audit revealed unauthorized transfers totaling $47,000. Mr. Vaughn returned the funds and agreed to resign rather than face criminal charges. We cannot recommend him for positions involving financial management. He's done this before, I said. Linda hired a repeat offender. Did the board know? Jennifer asked. Ruth shook her head. This letter should have been in his official file. Derek must have removed it. We had it now. Linda's recordings showing Derek's pattern of theft, Ruth's documentation of his unexplained wealth, May's public records showing his cash purchases, and now proof that Derek had forged documents after Linda died, and that he'd hidden his criminal past. The council meeting is Tuesday, Ruth said. We have 4 days to organize this into a presentation they can't ignore. Jennifer pulled up a blank presentation on her laptop. I'll handle the visuals, timeline, graphics, evidence exhibits. Ruth organized her surveillance photos, laying them out in chronological order. I'll present the financial documentation, show how his spending exploded after the theft started. They both looked at me. You present Linda's story, Ruth said. Her journal, her recordings. You're the one who knew her best, the one she trusted to finish this. I looked down at Linda's journal on the table. Her handwriting, her courage, her final request. Show him. Silence doesn't mean surrender. Okay, I said. Let's show them. Monday morning, Howard Mills called. Tom, I looked at the evidence you sent me. His voice was different, shaken. The printer logs. I ran my own check with our IT contractor. You're right. Those documents were created after Linda died. I could barely breathe. You believe me? I've been working with the state auditor's office for 6 weeks, since right after that board meeting. He paused. Your passion convinced me to look deeper. The state's forensic accountant traced the money, $310,000 in offshore accounts, tied to Derek. The forged signatures were good, but digital forensics don't lie. Why didn't you tell me? Needed proper legal foundation. Couldn't tip Derek off. Another pause. Tom, I'll be at the council meeting tomorrow, and I'll have the state audit report with me. Derek's done. When I hung up, Ruth and Jennifer were watching me. Howard's got the state audit. It's over. We won. But it didn't feel like winning. Not yet. Not until Derek faced what he'd done in front of everyone. Not until Linda's truth was spoken out loud, where the whole town could hear it. Tomorrow, Ruth said. Tomorrow we finish this. Sunday morning, the three of us turned my kitchen into a war room. Jennifer had her laptop set up, creating a presentation with timelines and graphics. Ruth spread her surveillance photos across the table in chronological order. I had Linda's journal open, her final entry visible. We need to think like Derek's attorney, Jennifer said. She'd pulled her hair back. All business. Reminded me so much of Linda, it hurt. Every piece of evidence we present, they'll attack. We need counter-arguments ready. She drew 3 columns on a legal pad. Evidence, expected defense, our response. Linda's journal, I said. That's where we start. Jennifer typed it into the first column. Derek will say she was medicated, confused. The handwriting is steady, Ruth countered. Dates are accurate. Details match bank records. Jennifer wrote it down. Voice recordings. Out of context, I said, knowing how Derek's lawyer would spin it. Woman on morphine, misunderstanding normal business conversations. Except we have his voicemail, Ruth said. His exact words. Some reputations can't survive scrutiny. That's a threat, plain as day. We worked through the morning, building our case piece by piece. Ruth's surveillance documentation, May's property records, the printer log showing forgery, Derek's hidden criminal history. By afternoon, Jennifer had created a presentation that would make a prosecutor proud. Clean graphics. Timeline showing the escalation, photos of Derek's Tesla, his vacation, his condo, numbers that didn't lie. We're still missing something, I said, staring at the evidence. All of this is strong, but Derek's slippery. He'll find a way to twist it. Howard's got the state audit, Jennifer reminded me. Forensic accountant, banking records, official investigation. That's not something Derek can spin. Maybe she was right. Maybe we had enough. But I kept thinking about that board meeting, the way they'd chosen Derek's paperwork over Linda's voice, the way institutional loyalty had trumped truth. I called Howard that afternoon. Are you sure you're willing to go public with this? I asked. Derek's going to come after you. So will his attorney. I'm sure. Howard's voice was firm. I chose wrong at that board meeting, Tom. Chose procedure over friendship. I won't make that mistake again. What changed your mind? A long pause. I kept hearing Linda's voice on those recordings. The way she stayed calm, even when Derek was threatening her. She was dying, and she still had more courage than any of us. Another pause. She trusted me for 16 years. I owed her the truth. When I hung up, Ruth was watching me from the kitchen. You look like you're carrying the weight of the world, she said. What if it's not enough? What if they believe Derek again? Then we go to the newspapers? Then we go to the state attorney general. Ruth's voice was steel. But Tom, this isn't just about winning. It's about doing what Linda asked, fighting for the truth even when it's hard. That's what matters. Monday night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Linda, about the woman who'd held my hand for 38 years. The woman who'd chosen truth over comfort, even when the truth was killing her. Around midnight, I went to her sewing room, sat in her chair, surrounded by her things, the half-finished quilt, the fabric scraps organized just so, the vanilla candles she'd never light again. Her journal was on the table. I opened it to the last page. Her final entry. Tom, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and Derek made his move exactly as I knew he would. I'd read it a dozen times, but tonight I read it different. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you while I was alive. You would have tried to stop me, tried to protect me. She'd been protecting me, keeping me in the dark so I'd have clean hands for the fight ahead. So Derek couldn't claim I was complicit. Derek underestimates you, thinks you're passive, broken. I had been passive. For 38 years, I'd let Linda lead, let her be the strong one, the fighter. I'd been content to follow, show him what loyalty looks like. Show him silence doesn't mean surrender. This wasn't about defending Linda's reputation. She didn't need defending. She'd been right all along. This was about honoring her courage, finishing what she'd started, proving that the man she'd chosen to marry had the spine to stand up when it mattered. I pulled out a pen and turned to a blank page in her journal. Started writing for the first time since she died. Linda, I understand now. You weren't leaving me evidence to defend you. You were leaving me weapons to honor you. Tomorrow, I'll show Derek that silence doesn't mean surrender. That loyalty means finishing the fight, even when the person you're fighting for can't see the victory. I love you. I'm ready. Tom. Tuesday morning, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, buttoning my shirt. My reading glasses sat on the sink, the frames cracked from when I'd dropped them during the board meeting. Linda's reading glasses were on the nightstand. Her bifocals, the ones she'd worn every day for the last 5 years. I picked them up, put them on. The prescription was close enough to mine that the world came into focus. I could see myself clearly for the first time in weeks, gray hair, lines around my eyes. The face of a man who'd spent 38 years living in someone else's shadow. Not anymore. The county council chamber was built in 1887. High ceilings, tall windows, old wood that creaked when you walked on it. By the time we arrived at 6 o'clock, every seat was full. News had spread. Small towns are like that. Word gets around when something big is about to happen. Jennifer sat up at a side table, laptop connected to the projection screen. Ruth sat in the front row, her thick folder of evidence in her lap. May Garrett was in the back, quiet but present. Then Derek arrived. He looked confident, designer suit, Paul Schaefer beside him, expensive briefcase in hand. They set up at a table across from ours, Derek shaking hands with board members as they filed in. Playing the role of wrongly accused man, steady under fire, he caught my eye once. Smiled slightly, like he'd already won. Howard Mills came in last, sitting separate from Derek. He carried a thin manila folder with a state seal visible on the tab. Eleanor Voss, the council president, called the meeting to order. She was 68, former high school principal, the kind of woman who didn't tolerate nonsense in her classroom and wouldn't tolerate it in her council. Chamber, routine business first, a zoning variance, budget amendments for the fire department. I barely heard any of it. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. We'll now open the public comment period, Eleanor said. She looked at me. Mr. Harper, you requested time to address the council. I stood, walked to the podium. The floor creaked under my feet. Linda's glasses slid down my nose slightly. I pushed them back up. The chamber was silent, waiting. My name is Tom Harper, I said. My voice came out steadier than I expected. My wife Linda managed your charitable foundation for 16 years. She died 6 weeks ago. Before she died, she discovered embezzlement. The man responsible is sitting in this room. The silence broke. Gasps, murmurs, heads turning to look at Derek. Paul Schaefer was on his feet immediately. This is defamation. The council has no jurisdiction? Eleanor's gavel came down hard. Mr. Harper has the floor, counselor. You'll get your turn. I looked at Derek. He was staring at me, that confidence starting to crack around the edges. Linda documented everything, but I said, for months, while she was dying, she gathered evidence. She knew you'd try to frame her after she was gone. She knew you'd use her death to cover your theft. Jennifer clicked the remote. The first slide appeared on the screen. Linda's journal entry. The words projected large enough for everyone to read. September 3rd. Derek asked me to co-sign transfer authorization today. But the account name, I don't recognize it. Need to check. This is my wife's handwriting, I said. Her investigation, her courage. Another click, another entry. December 4th. He knows I know. Derek asked about my legacy today. It was a threat. Derek was whispering urgently to his attorney now. Paul Schaefer looked less confident than when he'd walked in. I'm going to show you what Linda found, I said. And I'm going to show you what Derek Vaughn has been hiding. Jennifer played Linda's recordings. The chamber went silent, listening to my wife's voice grow weaker over 6 months, documenting Derek's lies, his deflections, his threats. When we got to Derek's voicemail, some reputations can't survive scrutiny, Carol Hendricks put her hand over her mouth. "That's a dying woman he's threatening," someone in the back row said. Ruth stood next, calm and methodical. Spread Derek's financial timeline across the projection screen. "Derek Vaughn makes $78,000 a year," she said. "In the 18 months after he started stealing, he purchased a $95,000 Tesla, took an $8,000 vacation to the Cayman Islands, charged to the foundation credit card, bought a condo in Indianapolis for $240,000 cash." She clicked through photos. Derek grinning on a beach, Derek's Tesla with a vanity plate, property records with his signature. The math doesn't work unless he's stealing. Paul Schaefer stood. "These are circumstantial. My client has family money? His father's a judge who lives on a public servant's salary," Ruth said. I checked. Frank Moretti, the council member who farmed corn, leaned forward. "That's a hell of a gap, Mr. Vaughn." Derek's confidence was cracking now, his jaw tight, hands gripping the table edge. Jennifer took the podium next. "Derek claimed Linda authorized these transfers, showed the board documents with her signature, but those documents were created after my mother died." She pulled up the printer logs on screen, timestamps in sharp focus. "Mom died January 15th. These documents were printed January 20th through 25th. Electronic metadata doesn't lie." The chamber erupted, voices rising, people turning to stare at Derek. Paul Schaefer was standing again. There must be an explanation." "Procedural documents, filed after the fact." "It's forgery," Jennifer said quietly. "Provable. Documented forgery." Eleanor's gavel came down. "Order. I'll have order." Derek stood abruptly. "This is a setup. A grieving man with conspiracy theories. You're all letting him—" "Sit down, Mr. Vaughn," Eleanor said. Her voice could have cut glass. Paul Schaefer put his hand on Derek's arm, forcing him back into his chair. I returned to the podium, felt Linda's glasses slide down my nose, pushed them back up. "There's one more thing," I said. "Derek's done this before." Jennifer put up the termination letter from Derek's previous employer. The council members leaned forward, reading. "Terminated for financial irregularities. Unauthorized transfers, totaling $47,000, agreed to resign rather than face criminal charges. He stole from his last nonprofit," I said. "The foundation board never saw this letter because Derek removed it from his personnel file." Derek was on his feet again. "I wasn't my attorney. This is harassment." "Mr. Vaughn, sit down." Eleanor's voice was final. Paul Schaefer tried one last time. "With respect to the council, this is all circumstantial. No authenticated banking records. No forensic proof, just accusations from a man who—" Howard Mills stood. The chamber went quiet. Everyone turned to look at the foundation board president. "I have forensic proof," Howard said. His voice carried across the room. "I've been working with the state auditor's office for 6 weeks. He walked to the front carrying his manila folder, opened it, started distributing copies to the council members. The state's forensic accountant traced $310,000 to offshore accounts controlled by Derek Vaughn. Digital forensics confirmed the signatures on transfer authorizations are photocopies, not authentic. Linda Harper's signature changed after her stroke 5 years ago. Derek used old signature samples to create forgeries. Derek's face had gone white. The investigation began after the foundation board meeting," Howard continued. "Tom's evidence gave us probable cause for a full audit. What we found confirmed everything Linda documented before she died." Howard looked at me. "Linda always said you were the most loyal man she'd ever known. She was right. Loyal men keep fighting." Then he turned to Derek. "You're done." Derek tried to stand, to leave, but Eleanor's voice stopped him. "Mr. Vaughn, sit down, now." She nodded toward the back of the chamber. 2 state troopers stepped through the doors. They'd been waiting in the hallway. The lead trooper walked to Derek's table. "Derek Vaughn, you're under arrest for embezzlement, fraud, and forgery." Derek's composure finally shattered. "I wasn't trying to hurt her. I just needed time. I was going to pay it back." An admission, on record, witnessed by 150 people. The trooper continued reading rights while putting Derek in handcuffs. Paul Schaefer was gathering papers, face tight, already calculating his next move. At the doorway, Derek looked back at me, desperate, broken. "Looking for what? Forgiveness? Understanding?" "Linda gave you mercy out," I said. "I'm giving you justice." They let him out. The chamber erupted again. Some people applauding, others crying, everyone talking at once. Jennifer appeared at my side, hugged me tight. Ruth squeezed my shoulder, but I didn't feel triumphant. Didn't feel victorious, just empty. Outside, the February air bit at my face. Sleet was falling again, tapping against the courthouse steps. I stood there watching the trooper car pull away, Derek's face visible through the back window. Jennifer and Ruth flanked me, waiting. "We won," Jennifer said. "Derek's arrested. Mom's name will be cleared. We won, Dad." Ruth was watching me. "Then why do you look like you lost?" "Because she's not here to see it." My voice cracked. "What's justice worth if the person you fought for can't witness it?" Jennifer's hand found mine. "Maybe that's exactly why it's worth it, because she can't." We stood there in the cold. Linda had been gone 6 weeks. 6 weeks of fighting, of drowning, of nearly giving up. And now it was over. The evidence had been believed. Derek was in handcuffs. Linda's truth was public record, but she was still gone. The newspaper came out Wednesday morning. Front page, Foundation director arrested for embezzlement, and below it, late director Linda Harper died investigating theft she discovered. My phone started ringing at 7 a.m. Didn't stop for 3 days. Apologies, support, media requests I didn't answer. The phone company called, offering to help families Linda had supported, wanted to set up a memorial fund. I unplugged the phone on day 2. Sunday service was different. I walked into church, expecting the same awkward silence, the averted eyes, the whispers. Instead, people approached. Carol Hendricks brought an apple pie, tears streaming down her face. "Tom, I'm so ashamed. Linda was my friend, and I doubted you. I'm so sorry." "You believed what looked like evidence," I said. "Derek fooled everyone?" More apologies came. The church ladies who'd stopped visiting, the hardware store owner who'd treated me like I was invisible. People I'd known for decades, embarrassed and genuine. I accepted each one, didn't hold grudges. Linda wouldn't have wanted that. Derek's pew sat empty. His wife had filed for divorce 2 days after the arrest, took their twin sons and moved back to Ohio. The shame had driven them out of town. I felt sorry for them. For the family Derek had destroyed, trying to impress a father who couldn't be impressed. The foundation board met Thursday, emergency session. They voted unanimously to rename the organization Linda Harper Memorial Foundation. A bronze plaque would be installed at the entrance, listing her years of service and noting the embezzlement she'd died trying to expose. The recovered funds, $310,000 of the $340 stolen, would go toward scholarships and emergency aid for families Linda had cared about. Her work would continue. Howard approached me after the meeting. "Tom, the board would like you to join us. Linda's legacy should have Harper family representation." I thought about it. About spending my Tuesday mornings in that conference room with the clanking radiator. About trying to fill Linda's shoes. "I appreciate it, Howard, but Linda was the giver. I'm just the guy who made sure people remembered that." He nodded. "Understood. But I'll donate Linda's foundation records to the county archive," I said. "Help future investigators spot fraud. Maybe something good can come from this." Jennifer stayed. She'd expected to fly back to Florida after the council meeting, tie up loose ends, and return to her marketing job. But she didn't leave. "I can work remotely," she said. "For a while anyway, maybe longer." We spent evenings sorting through Linda's belongings, her clothes, her books, the boxes of photos from 38 years together. One night, Jennifer found our wedding album. Young faces staring back at us, Linda in her mother's dress, me in a rented tux that didn't quite fit. "Tell me about this day," Jennifer said. I was too young to remember the stories, so I told her about Linda's vows, how she'd insisted on writing her own. I choose truth over comfort, always. About the way she'd laughed when I stepped on her dress during the first dance. About how I'd known from the first day that I'd married someone stronger than me. Jennifer cried. I wasted 6 years being angry, 6 years I could have spent with her. She understood. Your mother knew about pride, about being stubborn. I put my arm around her. She'd just want you here now. I'm staying through spring, Jennifer said. Help you plant the garden, learn to do it Mom's way. Ruth became family. Every morning we'd have coffee on her porch when the weather allowed. She'd tell stories about watching Derek those months. About the night she'd promised Linda she'd help me. After Jim died, I stopped trusting people, she said one morning. Stopped going to church, book club, quilting group. Just closed myself off. And now? Now I remember why Linda fought so hard. Community matters. Truth matters. Fighting for what's right matters. She smiled. You gave me that back, Tom, by letting me help you. The town noticed our friendship, started inviting both of us to dinners, events. Ruth rejoined the quilting group at church, started teaching classes again. Derek's plea deal came through in March, 7 to 10 years. His attorney had negotiated down from the 15 he'd been facing. His father, the judge, had disowned him publicly in the newspaper. I have no son, a circular tragedy. Derek had destroyed himself trying to win approval from a man who'd never approve. The foundation held a dedication ceremony in early March. 200 people came, more than had attended Linda's funeral. The bronze plaque caught the afternoon light. Linda Harper Memorial Foundation, honoring a director who gave everything to protect those she served, 2008-2025. Howard gave a speech about Linda's integrity, her courage, her legacy of service. Then he asked me to say something. I kept it short. Didn't like public speaking. Never had. Linda believes some fights can't be walked away from, I said. She was right. Thank you for remembering her truly. I left the ceremony early. Too many people, too many emotions, too exhausting. Jennifer and Ruth walked home with me. The afternoon was warm, first real warmth of spring, snow melting, buds forming on the trees. In my backyard, I looked at the garden beds, still frozen, but thawing. Want to plant this year's tomatoes? Jennifer asked. Your mother always said I planted them too deep. Jennifer laughed. She told me the same thing. Let me show you the right way. Ruth called from her porch. Coffee's on when you're ready. Cardinals were at the feeder, a mated pair singing, building a nest in the maple tree, life continuing. That evening, I sat on my porch with coffee I'd finally learned to make right, strong enough to stand a spoon in the way Linda used to make it. Her journal was beside me. I hadn't opened it since the council meeting. But tonight, I turned to the page where I'd written my note to her the night before the battle. I picked up the pen and added one more entry. April 2nd. It's finished, Linda. Derek's in prison. The foundation has your name on it. The money's going to help families you cared about. The town knows the truth. Jennifer's staying through spring. We're planting the garden together. She's teaching me to do it your way. Ruth's family now. Comes by every morning for coffee. The Cardinals are back at the feeder. The pair you always said reminded you of us. I understand now what you were asking. It wasn't about defending your reputation. You didn't need defending. You were right all along. It was about finishing the fight. About showing Derek that silence doesn't mean surrender. About proving that loyalty means following through, even when the person you're fighting for can't see the victory. Some things are worth losing everything for. Some battles define who we are. I learned that from you. The garden's growing. The house feels less empty. I still reach for you in the morning, but the ache is different now. Cleaner. Not mixed up with injustice and rage. You were right about everything. Truth over comfort. Always. Love you still. Love you always. Tom. I set the pen down and looked out at the street. Spring was coming. Green pushing through brown. Light lasting longer. The world waking up. Inside the house, I could hear Jennifer and Ruth laughing about something, making dinner, the sound of people who belonged. The Cardinals sang from the maple tree, building their nest. Starting again. Linda was gone. That truth would never change. But she was present in the garden, waiting to be planted, in Jennifer's laughter, in Ruth's friendship, in the foundation that would help families for decades, in the truth that was now part of the public record. Some fights can't be walked away from, not because you'll win, but because staying silent costs more than fighting. Linda had known that, had lived it, had died proving it, and she'd trusted me to finish what she started. I'd been passive for 38 years, content to follow, to let her lead. But in the end, she'd known I had the spine to stand when it mattered. Had believed in me enough to leave me the weapons I'd need. Justice didn't bring her back. Didn't erase 6 weeks of hell. Didn't make the empty bed any less empty. But it honored her courage. Protected her legacy. Proved that love doesn't end with death. It continues through action. Through fighting for truth. Through refusing to let silence become surrender. The sun was setting now. Gold light, warming the porch. Spring breeze carrying the smell of thawed earth and new growth. Behind me, Jennifer called. Dad, dinner's ready. I stood, picked up the coffee cup and Linda's journal, looked one more time at the Cardinals, the male and female together, inseparable. Inside, the lights were warm. Ruth was setting the table. Jennifer was pulling something from the oven. The house was full of voices again. I stepped inside and closed the door. Tomorrow, I'd plant tomatoes the right way. Ruth would bring pepper seedlings. Jennifer would make her mother's iced tea recipe. The garden would grow. The foundation would help families. The Cardinals would raise their young. Life would continue the way Linda had known it would. Some legacies are worth every scar. Some battles are won long after they're fought. In the gardens planted, the truths protected, the love left behind. Silence doesn't mean surrender, and loyalty means finishing the fight, even when the person you're fighting for can't see you win.